All right, what's up, everyone? Today we're going to be having a little lecture on bubble sorts. I know I said we'd be covering some data structures and algorithms as part of the road to software engineering. It's something you need to study up on. But sorry if you hear a little popping there, moving my mic. But we're going to cover the bubble sort. Now I'm just going to pull this up as easy way to put it. First let's say what is a sort? Sorting, pretty straightforward. You sort stuff. You want to put them alphabetical order, numerical order. You have a list of stuff. It's nice when stuff's ordered. But sometimes when you get data, it's not always in order. It might just be a list of things. But what if you want to sort that data? So what we got here is like, for instance, we're going to create a groceries list. Now I'm writing with a mouse, so it's going to look terrible. Just saying, it's going to look terrible. All right, so we have a groceries list. And, in there you have, let's say you have eggs, milk, and bread. Now that all looks terrible, but that's okay. Now I'm just gonna, we'll just undo it because I erased the whole layer because I didn't put on a new layer. All right. So now let's say you have a list of numbers. Like I'm just showing you for example what a list was, and now you know what a list is. Can be a list, can be an array, can be a vector of items. There's lots of names you can call it, but all right, let's just say you have a numbers list. We're just going to put it num list. Yeah, no, it looks rough. Let's say we got us a 2 here, a 5 here, a 1 here, a 3 here, 12 here, 15, and an 8. So all these numbers, they're just pretty random. Just came up with them off the top of my head. But we want to sort these. So with the bubble sort, what we're going to do is we're going to go through each element. Each number here, each item, as you would say, or number, is considered an element. And it always starts from 0 all the way up to whatever the maximum amount is. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we will put a 6 here. So while there is 6 different items here, or 7 different items, excuse me, the counting starts at 0. At least depending on which language you're using. I use C++, C#. The elements start at 0 in there. So that would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what we want to do when we go through these is with the bubble sort, let's say we're going to check. We're going to say, real easy, we're going to say that we're going to call, as we iterate through, we're going to call our iterator n. So we're going to say, like, if we're iterating between 2 and 5, 2 is going to be n, and 5 is going to be n plus 1 in our algorithm. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to create this little if statement. We're going to say if n plus 1, if you want to do it this way, is greater, if you're wanting to make it by descending, or if you want to make it, let's say, like smallest to biggest, then we'll say, like, if n plus 1 is less than n, then we're going to create a new temp variable. We're just going to put this called m. M is because we got to save that value. So we'll just be saying that m is equal to, because we're going to change it, it's going to be equal to n, because we're going to change that number. Now we're going to say n is equal to n plus 1, and n plus 1 equals m. And by doing that, we're going to swap this here, swap that there. And by doing that, this m is just a container to hold the variable we swap. That way we can get its value to the other container. Let me move this mic a little bit. It's in my face. All right. I hope that makes sense. And also, when we do that, it'll probably be easier to show you in code. Usually when you circle through, then you'll go to the next element. But with the bubble sort algorithm that I came up with, it's a bubble sort, but it's not the traditional bubble sort. is what I do is I basically say if n is greater than, if n, I know that looks terrible, if n is greater than 0, meaning you're at least on the first element, because at the end of the, when it goes through each check, it always iterates and adds 1. So if it's greater than 0, meaning you're at least on the second element, we're going to minus 2. Not from that, but from where we're iterating from. And the reason we're doing that is because instead of it, we swap the 2 and 5, when it checks this one, instead of staying in the same place, or let's say if when we swap the 1 and 5 here, we're going to actually go back and check, instead of staying in the same place, we're going to go back and see if this one here, if 1 is less than 2. That's why we're going back 2, so we can check this one again, and then it'll swap those out again. That way, you can get it all in one pass, and it checks and orders everything nice, neat, and beautifully. That's why you want to go back 2, because if we only swap these two, and let's say we brought the 1 here, put the 5 there, we're not even checking the 2, and then we would be going to the next one, so it wouldn't be fully sorted. And that's why I put minus 2. But you only want to do that when you're greater than 0. And you're going to say, like if it's greater than 0, minus 2. Else, you will put minus 1 for your element. Now, I hope that makes sense. But we'll write some code to show you guys so you can get a real understanding. So I have basically an empty C++ file here. We're going to go ahead and include IOStream's already included, so we're going to include vector. Because we put IOStream so we could print and print out. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and create a couple of functions. We're going to name this void print. And it's just going to take in a vector. And it's going to be of type int. So what it's going to take, we're just going to name this numbers. And we'll go ahead and put for int I equals 0, which means we're basically starting at the end if I is less than numbers. And the reason I use vectors is because it has this nice little size thing. We're going to say if it's less than size, then we're going to iterate. And then for that, we're just going to do a little print function here. And we're going to print numbers. We're going to print the number. And then we're just going to add, this is a little bit of C here, this new line character. We're just going to create a new line. You can use C and C++ code. And so that's basically when we pass our vector in, we're just going to print it and add a new line. That's our print function. And now we're going to create a, let's see, before we create that, we're going to create a vector. std vector, type int, and call it numbers list. And now, just to populate it with some stuff, we're going to go numbers list, push back. We're going to give it a 10. Now I'm just going to copy this. Just going to paste it a few times. So make this a 5 or 15. 9. I don't know what I did there, but I did not need to do that. Hit the wrong button for sure. And 8. 25, you know. 1, and let's say 30. Why not? So right here is where we populate our vector, our numbers list. So now we need to create our bubble sort algorithm. We're just going to name this void bubble sort, and it's going to take in our vector. And we're writing this so we can pass in any vector, not specifically this one, any type, any vector that holds integers. And we're just going to call this nums. So we're going to say create our for loop. It's going to be similar to this. For int I equals 0, because we're always starting at 0. If I is less than nums, well, while we're iterating through, because we're not actually checking the size, we're printing, and remember it starts at 0. So we're going to get the size minus 1. Then we're going to increment it 1. So here comes the easy part. Now that we got this, now all we have to do is say if if nums, and we're going to access that spot, nums I plus 1, because you can do mathematical operations inside the bracket, is less than nums 1. Now we're going to do this. We're going to create a temp variable, int temp num equals, because we're going to switch the value. We're going to give let's see, we're going to take the value from, oh, my bad, I put a 1 there. Needs to be an I, excuse me. We need to be checking for the I as we iterate through. So now, what we're going to do, we're just going to say this nums equals temp I. That way we're saving I because we're about to override it. Always remember your semicolon. Sorry if it made it a little confusing there. But because we're going to be swapping these values, we need a container to hold this variable. So we're just going to say nums I equals nums I plus 1. And then we'll say nums I plus 1 equals temp num. Now we have switched them. And now when we do that, we will say if, let's see, I is greater than 0, then we will I minus equals 2. That way we're swapping it. Else, we're just going to I minus minus. We're only going to minus 1. That way, if it's on the element 0, we're only subtracting 1. If not, we're going back 2. This way, we don't get no out of bounds, out of index, array index error. Out of index error. And that should work. Now, the way we can give it a try is we can say inside this array, now that we've done this, when the loop finishes, we'll call print. What did I name that function? I just named it print. I don't think that's a good name. Print sorted nums. Print's too much like a generic name for me personally. Don't want to get confused for anything. Now we just pass in our variable here, which is going to be numbers list. Because it takes that sort of thing. So now all we have to do is call bubble sort in here. And if we didn't make any big errors, and also we got to pass in our numbers list to this. Also, whenever you create your own function, you can hover over it, and it will show you right there what sort of parameter it takes. If we did everything right, which we didn't, we'll be getting some errors. And the error here is because we're declaring this numbers list before or after this function is declared. Order matters in C++, so just to avoid any errors with that, we'll put it up here above those. Now when we run the code, we get plenty of errors now. and 15 and 9 and 7. Why are we getting the N? I know why. Because I had the wrong slash, the wrong leg. Excuse me. This is the slash key above the enter key. It's like never seen that before. So now, whenever we print this, it certainly is not working the way I intended. 10, 15, 9. Aha. Now, I think it is working. But we were just passing in a copy. So we need to pass in nums. This is the one I was passing the generic list. Right now, when I'm doing this, without going in too deep, in C++, if you don't make it sure it's a reference, like we're copying this number list into here. We're not actually, referencing this one, but I could put a reference and that would change it itself and that would work fine. But for now, just for simplicity, we're just going to do it like this. Now, 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 25, 30. We've now done a bubble sort. Now let's say you want to sort it the other way. We just change it like this. Now if you want to put the greatest ones first, so greatest to smallest, 30, 25, 15, 10, 9, 8, 7, 1. So if you're new to C++ and you wasn't sure about the references, well, let me go ahead and change this back. We'll go ahead and fix this and show you. All right, so now we're going to take in a vector reference. That's fine. Sorry about that. In the sort, we're going to take in a reference. All right. So now, in theory, I should be able to put in numbers list, and this should work fine and be sorted. And it does. That's as simple as it is to be able to make sure you're getting a reference. When you create your function, you just put this and sign before the variable name. This is the variable type. It's no different than let's say add func. I'm just going to call it that. It's the same as putting something like this and naming your variable a just for a function. But the variable is a type of vector of type int, and we just named it nums, just like how you would do a and use it to add, like in any other language. But I hope that made a lot of sense to you guys. This has been a short lesson. I know there were a few hiccups, but I like showing it to you live, raw, unedited, so you can see the whole debug process. And you got a few unexpected things that I got to teach you in here that you wouldn't have seen if I edited it, like putting the numbers list up top. Order matters in C++, and if you want to say for this little bonus part, I'll show you something else. So let's say for some reason you want your let me cut this. You want your functions below your main function. If you're just going to do it in one file, usually this wouldn't be in the main function. But now you see you don't have no errors. If you put the sort function and the print sort nums under it, you print it, it's going to say it doesn't know about it. But you just copy the name of your function up here and put it just like that. Same with the bubble sort. This is called forward declaration. As long as you put your function, it's spelled the same way, what parameters it takes, and then just put a semicolon by it. Just like that ahead of time. It goes, hey, you're telling it, hey, we know that there's a function in here below that we need to find. And so it will look for those functions. And so now by doing that, it works, but that's just in C++ the way it works. So if you're wanting to put your other functions below main, then you have to do forward declaration. But thank you guys for everything, and I hope that this short little lecture on bubble sorting helped you get a better idea of how bubble sort works. There's another way of doing it. I suggest you look at it online. This is my personal implementation, and it's actually a little more optimized, and I find it easier to understand. But I hope you guys like this. If you have any questions, comment below, and feel free, like if you haven't already, join the Discord, and you can continue on this road to software developer in 2025, and we'll have all the materials and assignments you need to get there. So thank you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.